Welcome, everybody, to the Fill or Feed podcast. I am Nathan, otherwise known as O0Brilliant0O on YouTube. This is episode 1 of a brand new podcast. We are going to be experimenting with this whole podcast idea, so forgive any mistakes that might be made during this very experimental episode. Today, I'm joined by my co-host and close friend, Erik. Erik, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I would like to point out how you're looking very dapper today, putting me to shame with that bow tie and everything. So, let me just give a quick rundown of what this podcast is all about. So this is the Fill or Feed podcast. Now, first of all, the name is a reference to League of Legends, and the reason that we kind of do reference to League of Legends is that Erik and I duo a lot in League of Legends, meaning that we both play together, sort of co-op in that sort of sense. And Fill or Feed is sort of a reference to when you're in Champion Select. Some people sort of call their role, so they'll say, all right, I want mid prefer, or top prefer, support prefer, whatever. And some people will just say fill, so like they'll just do any sort of role. And sometimes if you're a real dick about it, you can say, I want to go top lane, or I will start feeding the enemy team. Basically meaning that if you don't get your role that you want, you're going to be a little bitch. So, the name is a sort of a play on that whole thing where it's like, all right, well, I want any role, or I will start feeding the enemy team. So it kind of just doesn't really make sense in that regard, but that's what sort of makes it funny. And basically what this podcast is all about is we're going to be covering games, gaming news, miscellaneous topics, that sort of stuff. Really just kind of all over the board, but we will be covering some current topics, newsy type stuff, and yeah, so that's pretty much all I got, I guess. Anything you'd like to add?
I don't think so. I think we're good.
Okay. And then one other thing I would like to mention is that the overlay is subject to change in the future. I think the overlay that we have right now, all the stuff that's around our webcam and stuff, it definitely looks good right now. It's just I might do some modification with stuff in the upper left and right corners. And additionally, I would like to explain something that I don't know, maybe not a lot of people would get, but in the upper right corner of my screen, upper left corner of Erik's screen, as I'm pointing to right now. Unfortunately, Erik cannot actually see my webcam, so he has no idea what I'm talking about. The symbol that is there actually is like a League of Legends role icon. So the one above mine is a support, meaning that like typically when we duo, I'll be the support and Erik will be the ADC, the attack damage carry, which is the symbol above his webcam. So quick explanation of that. Wanted to cover that in case anybody was confused. And yeah, I mean, I think in the future we should explain stuff regarding like any game that we cover, because I think that our target audience is not necessarily people who like only play League of Legends, or like we might have to explain like things within something like League of Legends that other people might have no clue what we're talking about. So
For sure.
right. All right. So, I would like to maybe we can start off the actual discussion part of the podcast. Erik, what have you been playing this week?
So obviously we've played League of Legends this week. I haven't played too much, but you know, obviously a few ranked games here and there. Lately, just in the past like couple of weeks and the past couple of months, I've been playing Callista, the new AD carry, who is just very good right now, and she's so much fun, and she carries really hard, and it's just, I mean, she was kind of difficult at first, but you know, you get the hang of her, and she's not bad, so it's pretty cool.
Is she hard to CS with, because her animation is a little bit different from all of the other AD carries?
It definitely takes some getting used to. It's very slow compared to other AD carries, because you have that whole spear wind-up thing, and it takes forever, just in comparison. But obviously, as the game goes on, it gets way easier, because you get stuff like, what's it called? Brunan's Hurricane, where you do 3 targets or 2 targets or whatever it is. And yeah, so it gets easier, but towards really early game it gets hard, and that's when rend helps a lot because you can get that like finisher towards your CS. So yeah.
And one thing that's cool about Callie as well, especially that I like, so Braum works well with Callie, because he kind of plays off of her ultimate a little bit. So her ult is really utility in that you can pick up your soulbound, right? So usually your support, well, 100% of the time your support. Who am I kidding?
Yeah.
And then you can basically throw them, which will then knock up whoever that you actually hit. So she goes really well with Braum because essentially you can throw Braum, and then Braum will ult into the enemies that you just knocked up for like a double sort of knock-up.
Yep.
And then they're slowed from the ultimate, and you can Q them very easily to start that passive stack, and then you can also shield to actually protect. Well, that would probably be the weakness of throwing Braum in front of you, is that his shield isn't as effective because they can like literally walk around him and then just
Yep.
bypass his shield completely.
But I mean, he has that like initiative. He has that ultimate
Right.
that he can throw down, and that's usually the combo that we pull. It's not so much like we need to get in and then be passive. It's like we need to get in and kill them all.
Right.
And so that's kind of what that does, which is super nice. So
Yes, and she also combos well with, I think, Morgana, and Thresh is okay, but like Morgana, you need to be in close proximity to the enemy for her ultimate to
yeah.
like start stacking onto them, and then Thresh also you got to be basically inside of their range for his box to be that much more effective. So,
Yep.
all right, so I have been playing also League of Legends. I've been climbing that Elo ladder.
Yeah.
And
Or try.
so I want to talk about our sort of dive from with the new season, the new placement matches.
Yep.
Okay, so the thing is, last season I was Silver 4, and you were Bronze 3, Bronze 2.
I'm sorry.
Right. Okay, and that was mostly because you hadn't played in a while. Like if you,
Yeah, I
if
was.
you
I
had-
was bad.
Yeah, so if you had played as much as me, you definitely would have been Silver 4, Silver 3. It's just you didn't have that much play time at the time. But basically, with the new season came around, and we had to play our placement matches again. So 10 placement matches. So
Yep.
we did very well in our placement matches. We duoed for most of them, and you went 7-3. Is that right?
I think you went 7-3 and I went 6-4.
Okay, well, whatever. Anyway, we did pretty well for
Yeah.
our elo. During some of those placement matches, we were definitely facing gold elo. Like we could tell that these guys were really good.
Yep.
It wasn't just people winning because they were fed. So you were actually playing one placement match ahead of me. So when you finished your 10th placement match, you found out what rank you got before I did. So
Yep.
you finished that, and you got Bronze 4, right?
Yep. Bronze 4.
So I mean bronze 2, or I mean Bronze 3 to Bronze 4 isn't that huge of a dive, but it's pretty significant for going 6-4. Like that shouldn't happen.
Yep. For sure.
So I was used to like silver MMR. So then I finished my 10th placement match, and I was placed in Bronze 4 as well, and that was like astounding. Like I was expecting maybe like a league higher just because of my past MMR, but I don't know if it was the algorithm or if I don't know what, but like they totally just ignored your like last season's MMR,
Yeah.
and we both got Bronze 4, and that was garbage.
Yeah, I had heard from a few people that duoing is not the best when you're doing your placement matches, which doesn't really make sense to me. But obviously, we didn't end up in the place that we should have.
Right.
We're playing with people that are significantly worse than us. And I'm not saying that we should be gold, but I'm definitely saying that we should not be bronze 4. Like, we should at the very least be bronze 2 or bronze 1. But it just sucked. Like it was like we played so well, and then we were pumped, and we were like, yeah, we're gonna get silver, and we're gonna be able to like climb the ladder and maybe get our championship skins. And it's like, no, you're not. You're gonna be stuck in ELO hell for the rest of your life.
And one thing, like, the thing is, last summer, like, not that it matters because it's a game, really, but I spent all of last summer playing League and getting so pissed off and climbing that
Yep.
elo ladder to get out of bronze. And to
I
just be
know.
thrown back into it is infuriating, frankly.
Sure. I mean, that's a lot of time and also just a lot of advancement, like a lot of just evolution from being, kind of new to like playing ranked, getting to know the game, really like focusing on one role, support obviously, and then like you just know what you're doing more than I and more than the rest of the bronze players that were
Yeah.
so.
And I mean, I don't want to be arrogant in that regard, but
Oh yeah,
like I honestly don't think we should be at bronze 4.
I agree.
I mean, we're not, super good, but we're better than bronze 4, that's for sure.
Yeah. I've even heard of like plat players getting put in like low silver yellow. Like I've heard of people that were super pissed with this season's placement matches, and I don't know what they changed or if they changed it at all, but obviously something is different because people are dropping like flies, and it sucks.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, other than League of Legends, we've both been playing Hearthstone.
Of course.
So, you are at your lowest rank in Hearthstone.
Yeah. Well, highest, lowest,
Or
same thing. You know what
depends
I
on the
mean?
perspective.
I'm ranked 13 right now, which is it's all right. There I'm like it's nothing to record and put on YouTube, but it's still impressive for my standards.
Yeah.
I've been playing not really my own decks. I've kind of modified a little bit of Trump's decks, which is I think a lot of people do that. They'll take a standard deck and then they'll kind of tweak it a little bit. But I've been playing a lot of Mech Mage, just because it's so strong right now. So
I think Mage is so annoying, dude.
it is.
It
That's,
is,
that's my favorite part.
like, it is sort of, if you were to relate it to Magic the Gathering, it is obviously blue through and through, just super control-y, but it's sort of just, like, freezing is such
Yeah, no
a
kidding.
huge mechanic, and I hate that.
Yeah. Um, kind of like the 2/3 that freezes enemy minions that are damaged by it.
Choo-choo
That's
Train, or whatever it's
yep.
called.
That's a really good card. Just because you have that control, like even if you sack it for something huge, like you have that control that turn to just like do some damage, and it's kind of an aggro deck. It's an aggro-ish deck.
Yeah.
Um,
The...
and I've got a couple of legendaries in there, like Archmage, Antonidas. So I got both fireballs. I actually have a couple screenshots of me having like 6 or 7 fireballs in my hand from that card.
Oh, yeah. So, this is a random question. Can you only have one legendary in a deck?
No,
Oh, you can have 2?
you can have as many as you want. Oh, are you
No,
talking?
no, no,
about
I mean,
one?
like one of each card.
No, you can only have one. Yeah, you're right.
Ah, okay.
So like you can only have one of Archmage or one Doctor Boom or whatever.
Okay.
Whatever.
So that was, like, everybody makes it a huge deal when they get a legendary from, like, a pack or something. And I guess I didn't, like... I guess you really only need one legendary in a deck because that's the limit. So, like, I didn't know... Like, I figured, like, oh, I got a legendary, but now I need, another of the same
Yeah.
card to fit in the deck. But, alright, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I have been sort of messing around with Druid. To me, Druid is the sort of reincarnation of Green from Magic the Gathering, because I'm more of a Magic the Gathering player. I was more familiar with that game before I got into Hearthstone. And Druid is sort of rampy. He's got some big creatures at his disposal, and he's got some extra removal to cover his ass. So I've been a fan of that class. And like, I uploaded a YouTube video of me just doing sort of a gimmicky taunt deck. So I've been sort of having fun with that. And that is, like, if I was facing an only taunt deck, that would be infuriating. I would just be like,
Yeah.
why does this guy do this? Nobody
Yeah,
does
dude,
this.
Sledge Belchers, man. Those Sledge Belchers,
I know, Sludge Belcher.
they get out of hand. Ramp Druid is really like a strong deck right now. As far as like the ESL Hearthstone
competitive.
Legendary Series has been going on, and actually just finished. I think last week, or actually a few days ago, last weekend. Um, and I saw a lot of ramp druids.
Oh
Of
yeah.
the couple of games I saw, like there were like 3 or 4 ramp druids. So,
So like, what are the like dominating, or I guess decks within the meta in competitive
um,
Hearthstone right now?
so I'm just going off of what Trump has kind of been doing, because I watch Trump stream a lot, pretty occasionally, I suppose. But there's the Rogue Oil deck, which is kind of it's more of a mid-range weapon deck, and that's obviously it's a lot harder to play and it's a lot more inconsistent. But right now, it kind of plays with the meta that like rush decks are not as popular anymore. I've noticed, and I think I don't really know why that is, but like when you think of like the Hunter Rush deck was really strong for a while.
Right. Yeah.
And so was Zulok. Zulok was really strong, but then they added all these like mech cards, and I think the closest thing to a rush deck right now is Mech Mage, or you could do like Mechlock, which I've seen a couple times, but it's a little more mid rangey than it used to be. I remember playing Zulok and only having 1 5 or 2 5 costs, and that was the most mana I'd spend on one card.
Okay.
And I would just climb ladder because it was so good for a while.
Yeah.
And then obviously something happened, it got nerfed. It's not as strong anymore. So
Was that the Undertaker nerf?
I'm not really sure. I never really used Undertaker in Zulok. I don't really know what nerfed it. I think it's just kind of one of those indirect nerfs, like they'll buff some other card, and then as a result,
Yeah.
and I think the addition with all these goblins and gnome cards too has been kind of the downfall of those really early rush decks, which
Yeah.
I'm kind of okay with because they were really stupid. Like you could win on like turn 5 or 6 really easily, and it's nice to have like a meta where you can actually like sit and play the game and not have to worry about those stupid rush decks.
Yeah. Um, I would think it would be pretty traumatic to a competitive scene to have like an entire new set of cards released all at once.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it in comparison, like my only real serious competitive experience is in Team Fortress 2, and like TF2 weapons get released, one every, I don't know. I mean, okay, so during like holidays you might get like 5 within like
Yep.
a week's time period. But like then, I mean, those weapons are like immediately banned and then they're slowly unbanned
Yeah.
as people find out if they're good or not.
Uh-huh.
But like, so does Hearthstone just like allow all of the cards for?
I don't know. Like, so first of all, the real Hearthstone competitive scene, like that's done by Blizzard, isn't going on yet. I
Okay.
think it's like in the summer or late spring. I could look it up. But the ESL Hearthstone Championship or the Legendary Series is like kind of like a separate thing. So it's not like kind of how League of Legends is right now. That's more of what Blizzard's running right now. It's just kind of like a side tournament. And from what I've seen, they have used all the Naxxramas cards and all of the Goblins and Gnome cards.
Okay.
So,
So like there isn't sort of any sort of like particular card banning, like we can't allow
yeah.
this card in particular.
Yeah. But I think the actual series, I'm not for sure on that, but I think the series started a little bit after all the cards were released, as of now. Well, I'm not sure on that because it's so ESL started um, November 21st of last year. I don't know if the Goblins and Gnome stuff was released, but
So I'm just Googling ESL Hearthstone. I think ESL covers like a bunch of stuff, don't they?
I think so, yeah.
Because I remember like an ESL, even like a TF2 ESL league.
Yeah.
Pretty sure. Or I'm just fucking making up shit, but
No, I think that
so
sounds about right. I think they do a lot of stuff.
they must play best of 3.
They had like 8, 9 weeks of playing. So yeah, they do best of 3 each week.
Okay. That must be. I'm just wondering how like spectating that would work if you have like fans watching, because I suppose that would be the length of about a league match, like 3 Hearthstone matches, because each one is about 15 minutes, I would guess.
Yeah. Sounds about
Alright.
right.
Okay, so would you like to move into some newsy type stuff?
Yeah, sure.
Alright. So, first thing, big in the news yesterday was that Rockstar has decided to delay GTA 5 for the 3rd time, I believe. And all the way back to April 14th, so a delay of 3 more weeks. Which sucks because I have been looking forward to GTA 5 on PC for a while now, and I'm sure
Yeah,
you
no
have as
kidding.
well.
Yeah.
And I mean, so it was originally scheduled to be released in the fall season of 2014, and I mean, at this point, it's been pushed back like 6 months, which
Yeah.
is significant.
Yeah, kind of ridiculous, if you
Yeah.
ask.
But okay, so so I have the actual GameSpot article in front of me, and I'm just going to read off some of what they said so that we get our facts straight. GameSpot says the Grand Theft Auto 5 PC release date has been delayed for a 3rd time, pushing the launch day back to April 14th. Quote, our apologies to PC gamers worldwide who have been counting down the days until the launch of the game. But a bit more time is needed to ensure that the game is as polished as possible, end quote, says Rockstar. As a gesture of goodwill, players who have pre-ordered the game will receive basically just extra cash bonuses of in-game money in GTA Online. And then, so along with this report, they released the GTA 5 minimum PC specifications. And really quick, a rundown of those is that so you're going to need a minimum of an Intel Core 2 quad CPU at 2.4 gigahertz. So basically, just any decent 2.4 gigahertz processor, 4 gigs of random access memory, and then a minimum graphics card of NVIDIA 9800 GT 1 gigabyte, and alternatively the AMD equivalent would be an HD 4870 1 gigabyte version of that. And you're going to need 65 gigabytes of hard drive space because this thing is 65 freaking gigs. That is
So, just to put this in perspective, World of Warcraft, the biggest MMO, is 30-something gigabytes. It's like 32.
right.
So this game is twice the size of that.
Right.
That is insane. Now, granted, MMOs obviously don't have the graphic potential that this game does. And there's also 2 modes, right? Like you can do first person and third person.
Right.
So that obviously adds a huge chunk of data, but that's still humongous. Like, I think that's the biggest game I've ever heard of.
Yes. The biggest one that I've had to download in the past was Wolfenstein: The New Order, and that was 50 gigabytes.
Yeah, so this is
So-
14 gigs more.
Like seriously, I'm going to have to probably spend not only like overnight, but like into the next day downloading this
Yeah.
game because that's how huge
kidding.
it is.
And with our internet, it might be even, a couple months.
right. And then one other thing sort of that I wanted to tack onto that article is that Rockstar says that the Windows Edition supports up to 4K resolution, up to 60 FPS, and triple monitor configurations as well as NVIDIA 3D Vision. So, like you said, basically what's making up the majority of that 65 gigabyte size is the resolution of the textures. Like, I'm guessing these are massive texture files.
Yep.
So there's that. But the way that the article is worded, I'm not sure if the game will cap at 60 FPS or if it's capable of 60 FPS and beyond.
Yeah,
So,
I'm
like, what
not
are your thoughts
sure.
on that?
I obviously hope it's beyond 60 FPS because 60 FPS in itself is kind of limited. As you said, like 80 frames is kind of like the level of the highest level, and then after that, there's not that huge of a or that big of a noticeable difference.
Right.
But I am used to playing at 60 frames with like League and most other games because I don't have like a really up to date graphics card. I have the 660. I don't think I have the Ti actually, so I just have the 660.
So
Um,
do you run VSync on that on League of Legends? Like, do you have a constant 60, or are you just saying like
I have about
around
a
60?
constant 60. Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, I think I run at like 112, 180
Yeah.
FPS. But yeah, pretty much the limit of what I can perceive in terms of frame rate is about the 80 mark. Anything above that, I can't really tell. So if the game is limited to a static 60 as its maximum, I'm a little bit disappointed with that, but at least it is 60 for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I think the game was locked to 30 frames on last gen consoles, and
Yes.
I mean, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but like 30 FPS is basically unplayable to me at this point.
Yep.
I've been on PC so long that that's just not doable anymore. So whatever. I mean, if it's locked at 60, I guess that's okay, but I would like to see a little bit higher.
Yeah. As far as the console goes, I've heard quite a lot of disappointment with just the specs, like because the specs are up to date. It's just the games are not configured to the specs. Like I'm sure you could run these games very smoothly at 60 FPS, but they just decided to lock everything at 30. Um,
Right.
or so I've heard, and
I,
that's kind of ridiculous, don't you think?
I wonder if that's like I wonder if that's because of frame drops or like I don't know. I guess I don't know what I'm talking about with that. I'm not like super educated into the whole
Yeah,
tech scene like that, but
I'm not either.
I just know that 60 plus is good, 60 is okay, and
Yep.
below 60 is meh. You know?
Yep.
Oh, but so the actual delay. So the thing is, Rockstar basically is delaying the game because they say that they need extra time to polish it. Which, if that's true, that's good. Um, if they're using that as like a lame excuse as to why it's not finished so far, then that's obviously not as good.
Yeah.
But I would say that if they're delaying it like yet again to polish it even more, I really hope that this is going to be one of the like that this game is going to be really good.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, obviously, with 64 gigs, it's probably going to take a while to like optimize all of that info and like get this thing to run smoothly. And with Grand Theft Auto's ports being terrible in the past, I really hope that this one is just well done and polished, like they are saying that they're trying to do right now. But
Right.
uh, obviously, we don't know for sure. We don't know until we actually get the game, and 3 weeks is another 3 weeks, and it sucks. But at this point, we've waited so long that like it's just like another 3 weeks.
Yeah. Well,
So
yeah. There's that perspective, but I mean, I'm sure there are people out there who have been just counting down the days,
no
and
kidding.
I mean, honestly, this is probably gonna be. I mean, it already has basically on last gen consoles, but at least on PC, this is probably gonna be one of the greatest games that we've ever seen.
It's
And
kind of like the next Skyrim. Like Skyrim was
right,
the huge advancement in like graphical tech, and I think this is kind of that next step because we've Nvidia's really been pushing forward with all this graphical 3D modeling kind of stuff, and it
right.
just I'm excited. I mean, hopefully it'll be just awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, if you need an extra 3 weeks to polish your game and like make it look good, then polish your freaking game.
Yeah,
Like, if you're
take
gonna
it,
spend
dude.
that time optimizing it and all of that good stuff, then please take the time to do that. It's just annoying that we
Yeah,
have to wait again.
it's annoying.
You know. Um, So yeah, I think we pretty much covered that.
I have some news.
All right. What do you
Um,
got?
so you're not going to know a lot about this,
Okay.
but I played WoW for like 8 years. I played well like 6 years. I played since like sixth grade, so it's been a while. But yesterday the new patch notes, the new patch dropped, and they kind of added some weird stuff that I think you might be able to chime in on and just talk about a little bit. So one of the things is they added the ability to tweet from the game. So like you can take a screenshot of your character and tweet it, or you could you can take like your achievements and tweet it out. But I think that's something that is either really cool or just kind of stupid gimmicky stuff. Like it could
Yeah.
be cool, but like I don't know. It's weird. What do you think of this?
So
Think
like
about
no alt tabbing. It's just you type
yeah.
something in game and it's there. It's
Yeah,
much
so
better.
it's all on the client, so you just do like slash share and like it comes up I think with a window or something and you can tweet the screenshot of your character and it's ridiculous.
That is definitely interesting. It sounds to me like that's almost it. It feels a lot like a market move.
Yeah,
In
it
terms
does.
of like because like all of a sudden WoW's gonna be tweeted a lot more if people know about this, and it sounds like pretty much free advertising at that
Yeah.
point.
And that's something that I think like all this social media has kind of done for a lot of just everything in general.
Right.
Is like you have this huge marketing tool, and especially with Twitter, just because it's set up in a good way. Like you have your hashtags and you can like promote stuff and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
I think it is kind of a stupid gimmick. And another thing is it's like they've kind of added a lot of this kind of stuff in the past two expansions where they put in gimmicky stuff that's not really. People are arguing that it's not time well spent and it's just stupid stuff for casual players. And obviously, the hardcore players are gonna be like, "This is dumb. I want more content." Like they're gonna be pissed about all this stupid gimmicky stuff. But I think it's kind of cool for people that just are like bored or just like want something dumb to do.
Right, and I
But like,
think once
go ahead.
there's I think it's about who you're marketing the game to at that point because like me as a casual player, I'd be like, "Oh, that's kind of cool. Like that's just a cool feature of the game."
Yep.
Whereas somebody who has, years of experience in the game would be like, "Oh, this is stupid."
Yeah.
So,
But like I only as far as this expansion went, I played to level 100 and then I quit. And I have kind of like been like debating in my mind whether or not I'm going to go back. But it's expensive, so I don't know necessarily what I'm going to do about it. But it's still interesting to talk about just because it's something weird that they're kind of doing with the game, and it's not something that I remember them doing with like Cataclysm or a little bit in Miss Pandaria, but not really. So, yep.
so was that like the major update or like
Yeah, they
the
kind of added like a couple other things, like as far as garrisons and followers go, and it's mostly just like whenever they add a new patch, they'll do like a new quest line and all that stuff. Um, they have like new UI updates, just kind of cosmetic stuff. Again, it's kind of catering to the casual players and not so much the hardcore players because I mean I don't think there was a raid added. Maybe there was. No, I think they just like played around with some of the settings and stuff. So I think there wasn't a raid added, so like people are pissed because it's like, oh, it's not more content. Like, what is this useful to me for? Like, it's just like this is nothing. But I think for the hardcore players, there's really only one thing that was added, and that's like the heirloom thing. So in the past, people have been real pissed about how you can't trade heirlooms across realm, and heirlooms are like you buy them and then they help your lower level characters level up faster and like give you buffs and stuff.
Okay.
So they just integrated this new system where it's connected just to your account and not the specific realm you're on. So if you want to like PvP on one realm and then do PvE on another realm, you can have the heirloom still level all your characters up on both. So
Oh, okay.
I mean that's pretty big because I remember people talking about that forever, and they were just like they just ignore all our cries for help about this stupid heirloom thing, and now they're adding it. So that's kind of cool, but.
Right. Okay. So yeah, I have no experience with World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean my only experience with World of Warcraft, so I tried it for I think an hour one day.
Yep, I do
I
remember
like
that.
downloaded it. You persuaded me to download it, and I tried it for an hour, and I was like, I don't understand why this game is so popular.
At this point, like it's very grindy,
Right.
and it kind of has been for a while, and they've kind of minimalized it since then. But it's still grindy.
Yeah.
So people don't like a lot of people don't like that, and that's just something I kind of grew up with is just the grind and the RPG aspect to this game, and that's kind of what I enjoyed. But obviously, 6 years in, I'm kind of sick of it. So
Yeah.
I'm more for the competitive scene now.
And I mean that's something that I dislike in games is grinding. That's the reason why I sort of left Payday 2 because it was so
Yeah.
much of a grind.
Yeah.
And for something like WoW, which you say is pretty much a grind at this point, like that just kind of turns me away
Yeah.
as a gamer with a little bit of like ADHD in terms of like I need action now, you know.
Yeah. I kind of like the aspect of like gearing up. So like when you go into raids, and even though you do the same crap over and over and over again, it's kind of like that reward system, like the gear you get. And the reason I think that I quit is because I have no friends that play anymore. Like I have like a couple friends that play, and they're not hardcore into it at all. And I was for the longest time. Like I would raid with all these people, like 3 nights a week for like 3 hours each night. Like I was hardcore, and then, well, that's not hardcore compared to some people, but I was hardcore for my standards. And then a bunch of people like quit, and everybody left, and I was like just left alone. And so I was like, oh, I'm just done. Like I think that's kind of the main reason I kept playing for so long is like the social aspect of it. Like
Yeah.
I was able to make friends from all across the country and all across the world, which is like super cool, and everybody
Yeah.
was super nice, and it was fun to just have this connection and like be able to talk about this game, and it was cool. So
Yeah, and to sort of piggyback off that, that's one thing that, first of all, is sort of underestimated is the social element of some games. But like, I think that's something that older generations don't understand. Like people who are outside of the internet sort of culture don't understand is that you can go into, you know, a VoIP client and start talking to people and actually make friends. Like you're
Yep.
obviously not in real life friends. You're not gonna be like high school best buds or anything like that.
Yeah.
But like you form this ideas, this personality that you're talking to is actually like you can interact with, and like people are actually interesting, and it also gives you some sort of outside perspective. Like I've talked to people from like Europe before, just in my past experience, and like just talking to them, you get some new ideas, some new perspective on how they view the world, and to me that's interesting, definitely.
it's totally interesting, and that's kind of what I don't like about League of Legends is that there's such a salty community that
Totally.
you can't just be like, hey dude, add me, we should play. Like right now, if I added someone, I know I've talked to you about this. I've done ranked games just solo queue,
Solo, right?
and it's hard to play without communicating. So I like to just like add people on a Skype call, and some people are just complete assholes, and it sucks. But like you always find that one guy that's like super cool, and I have a couple of friends on here that like I talk to every once in a while, but there's not a sort of social system added to the game. Like, for example, in WoW, you had the guild, and you progressed as a guild, and you had to be there at a certain time, right?
Yep.
And in this game, you just add people, and you can like play once in a while. But like, there's nothing like that's guiding you to talk to this person or like guiding you to play with this person. It's just kind of like, oh, this guy's here. Maybe I'll play with him today. And it's just like, I don't know. It's something that I dislike just because I miss that social interaction.
Yeah. And there's no system in League of Legends that really incentivize not necessarily incentivizes, but sort of encourages players, I guess, for lack of a better word, to sort of form friendships or meet people. Because if you like, so again, I'll use TF2 as an example because I have a lot of hours into it. But if you take just the idea of a dedicated server, you know, you go to the same server day in and day out, you just enjoy playing the game, you're going to see some of the same people on that server, and you can be like, oh, hey, you know, Buttercup 69, like, I know you, you're a cool dude, like, hey, let's you know, be friends, talk, you can, I don't know, be my pocket medic or something. And that was, so, like, when I was really big into newbie mixes, that's basically a TF2 sort of competitive scene for people who are new to competitive. So, like, you would see some of the same guys there every week, and you'd be like, oh, hey, I don't know, I'll just make up another username, Lick My Dick 42, you know, like, I like that guy, he's funny, you know, we should be on the same team, and like stuff like that. And like yeah, the social aspect of gaming is definitely should not be underestimated, for sure.
Yeah, sure.
That is definitely what I imagine would bring a lot of people back to something like a World of Warcraft.
Mm-hmm.
And something like League of Legends, like, you just don't even try because people are complete assholes. I mean, heck, we've both been assholes.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
We've totally been those people.
Yeah, but this game like brings out the worst in you. Like, you hate everybody because everybody sucks, and you're like, the thing is like, there's no communication, and that's something that I think like what do you call it? Curse Voice. Yeah, right. Curse Voice came in and was like, hey, we should do this, and then Riot was like, I don't think so. And there's kind of been weird controversy, and I don't know if you can actually do that now or what, but if we had that communication, I think it'd be a lot better because, first of all, I am terrified of getting yelled at by someone over Skype, but I'll totally get yelled at by someone over text. Like, I will, and I would do the same. Like, I'll yell at someone over text, but I would never yell at someone like over Skype. Like, some people would, but then I would just be like, okay, I'm over it. Like,
yeah,
I wouldn't fight back like normal, and it's just like, I don't know. It's so weird because it's a huge competitive game, but there's like no real like infrastructure for it being a successful like team and stuff like that. It's just like, I don't know. It's weird.
So League has two elements sort of working against it in that regard. First of all, it's random teams. So the thing is, League is the most played game in the history of gaming. So that means that you will pretty much never ever run into the same guy in a queue ever again, right? So you have random queues, you're always meeting new people, and because of that, you form this sort of like thick skin, so to speak, or just general like abrasiveness about not caring who you're with because you'll never see that guy again. So there's that, and then there's also I think I just forgot. Oh, so it's the fact that League is, and I guess this goes along with other MOBAs as well, mostly Dota 2, maybe not Smite or Heroes of the Storm as much, but League is very competitive. And in any competitive game, you're going to have people that are pissed off because they're not doing as well as they would like to. Not only because they're facing opposition that are better than them, but also because there's something at stake. And in this case, it's your ladder points.
Yep.
So, like, I see both sides of the coin on this one, where, like, yes, if this guy is feeding the enemy team and he's just an idiot, yes, I'm going to bitch him out. At the same time, I have been the subject of an undeserved verbal lashing when, like, yeah, I might have been going 2 and 5 as support, but, like, I'm support, I'm supposed to die. Like, there are these other variables where, I mean, I can see why people are dicks sometimes, but I think people take in general take it too far when it comes
I
to
agree.
that.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, so I just looked it up. There are so daily they get about 27 million players. League of Legends does
Like
daily.
on
Not
at
at
one
once.
time or
No, at once they get peaks of like almost 8 million.
okay.
So that's a lot. And then 67 million monthly. So if you look at that, like that's huge. With World of Warcraft, it's like 12 million, I think, is their peak subscribers, and obviously you have to pay for that, so it's
Yep.
there's some bias in there, but
Yep.
like, and that's known to be one of the biggest games out there. Like it's obviously the biggest MMO that's ever been created, and this game like just blows it out of the water. And with that, you do get people of all sorts. Like you get all the assholes of this 67 million, and with more people, there's going to be more assholes. That's just kind of fact.
Yep.
But you're right. Like literally, pretty much every game, and this is kind of specific to bronze too, and like lower MMRs. People get like super pissed because I don't know what it is, because like when you think about people who are really good and like in diamond and stuff, I don't see people getting like really mad.
Because they're willing to work together. Because they
Yeah,
understand that,
yeah.
like, in order to win, because that is their goal,
Hmm.
you're going to need to be flexible a bit, you know? I guess, I
And I
don't know.
think that's just the general understanding of the game. Like the more people play, the more they understand like vision control and like roaming and getting other people kills and like CS and all that stuff. Like just the general understanding of the game is important, but people don't have that general understanding in these lower MMRs. And I guess that's probably why people get really mad, is because like I know what I'm doing, but you don't know what you're doing, and we can't work together if you don't know what you're doing, and I don't have time to explain what you're doing, so
Yep.
or what you should be doing. So it's just like it sucks.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely a lot of obstacles that the game is
Yeah.
going to overcome before its community gets any better.
Yep.
And I think, I mean, its popularity at this point is probably the biggest obstacle. I mean, yes and
Yeah.
no, because like if you take Smite for example, which is a little bit more casual but still also very competitive, like people can be dicks in that as well.
Yeah.
Like
For sure.
I guess it's really what you want to get out of the game, because I would play a match of Smite to just chill out and not
Uh-huh.
give a flying crap, because
Uh-huh.
like to me the appeal of Smite is its visuals. So like I really like looking at more of a 3D rendered world
Yeah.
in that sort of MOBA. Whereas in League of Legends, I'm going to play that knowing that I want to be competitive about this
Yep.
and I want to win, and
Yep.
like because of that I'm gonna be a little bit mean at times.
For
If
sure. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just like it sucks. Like I wish everybody could just be nice and know what they're doing like that.
Yeah,
But again, we're stuck in this bronze MMR,
Elo
and
hell, dude.
it's
It's
yep,
great. It's
it's just
great.
it sucks.
So, I think we have been recording for about 50 minutes now. We've got time for one more news piece, and so yeah, I guess I never really mentioned, but the goal of the show is to be about an hour. That's subject to change in the future if we feel like going longer and whatnot. But I feel like do you want to cover one more news piece and then we'll call it?
Yeah, sure.
So the recording just stopped for some random reason, but anyway, I was saying that one more news piece to cover, and this was in the news a few days ago, I think, and that is that Batman Arkham Knight has received a mature rating. Now, this might not seem like a big deal to most people, but I want to sort of read the article and explain why, and that might like to me this sort of took on a different meaning once I found out really why they've kept more explicit material in the game. So this is from a GameSpot article. I'm just going to read some highlights I have here. The Entertainment Software Rating Board has yet to publish its content description for Arkham Knight, so we don't know for sure why the game will be rated M. This is, by the way, GameSpot just sort of explaining their title, so it's already been said that the game will be rated M. Rocksteady founder and Arkham Knight game director Sefton Hill, not Stephen Hill, Sefton Hill, said he was surprised to learn his game would be rated M. He went on to acknowledge that Arkham Knight receiving an M rating means some younger players might not get to play it. However, he said he wasn't willing to change the story to make it more mass market. He says, it would have been wrong to water down the game and deliver a story we didn't believe in to keep the game mass market or enable it for more people. We feel that's the wrong way to go about it. And then later he says, we're not including gratuitous blood or swearing. We want to deliver a true end with no compromises, and it takes us to some dark places. Further on, he says, the Arkham Knight story will be more mature than previous games. Enemies will fight dirty and take Batman to dark places. Okay, so the reason why I find this important is that it's basically a game developer really taking a stand for the story that he believes in.
Yeah.
And he is like, this is the exact opposite, or this is rather what should be going on in game development in terms of corporate game development, because you have the original game director saying, hey, this story might not sell the most copies because it's going to get rated at a higher rating. So we're going to be sacrificing some profit for this, but we're going to tell a good story. Yeah. And I can definitely respect that.
That for sure. Like, and just kind of a part of the corporate, like part of it. When you think of corporate, you think corporate pig. Like, that shouldn't be the case. Like when you think of like big companies like EA. Just take EA for example. Ubisoft. They're in it for the money, and that's almost it. Like, you think of all the Assassin's Creed games they pumped out that are terrible.
Right.
Unity, not even optimized, like just garbage. Like you walk up to a character and it re-renders the character with a different hairstyle or a different hat. Like, that's garbage. And I just like, it's frustrating because when you think about it, like, they should, in theory, be in it for the storytelling and the interest and the community, but they're in it for the money. And that it's really cool to see like a big company go, hey, you know, we're not going to make as much money, but we're going to make you a really good game. And it sucks that it's M, but if it's M, whatever, dude. Like, it's still going to be great.
Yeah, and that's not to put down like the sort of gaming industry as a business, because like your primary goal should be to make money, right? I mean, who doesn't have that goal? But at the same time, you can. I mean, obviously, the extreme is going to be something like an Assassin's Creed Unity, where when you're playing the game, you can feel the developers being rushed by like executives breathing down their shoulders, basically. Like that's like, to me, sort of a more predominant feature in the game. But that's what's so great when you see games like this, the developers saying like, yeah, our story's a little bit darker and it's going to be that way, and that's how we wanted to deliver the story.
Yep.
God, my phone is ringing again.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's just it's cool, and yeah, you make a good point. Like, obviously they're in it for the money. Like, that's why they're doing it. But they're also in it for the art of it. Like, they're in it to make a really cool story, and they're in it to make like cool graphics and to make it look nice, and you know, they're in it to provide another element to Batman, and that's cool. Like, I think that's why they've had a lot of success with the previous Batman games, is because I think they're well done. Like, they kind of know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, all of the previous Batman games have received like good ratings,
and I've played a couple of them, and from what I played, they were really fun. I'm not a huge fan of just the style of game, but like, it looks nice, the story's cool, like, it's just fun. So,
I've tried, I believe it was Arkham City, and like I could see why people love it. It's
Mhm.
not my cup of tea personally, just
Yep.
because I don't like. To me, it's just like it's sort of detracted from the mood of the game when there's so much about sort of making it a little bit more kid friendly. That's not really the right word, but for lack of a better word, instead of just stealing somebody's gun and shooting them in the face that Batman could do, like there's specific emphasis that he is not a criminal. Like he's
Yep.
going to knock these people out and hand them over to the police, which
Yep.
is something that's so derived from like the TV shows, which is really meant for
Comics.
children.
Yep.
So to me that sort of detracted from it, from the sort of mood of the game. But I definitely see like the open world element was fantastic. You can you might as well be playing as Spider-Man with your
Yeah.
grappling hook or whatever
Yeah,
it's
that's
called.
cool.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
overall, I definitely love that how developers are willing to give up at least some portion of profits for
Yep.
to make their story good.
And
So,
I think as time goes on, because like video games is, when you look at it, it's a fairly new market.
yeah.
It's it's like similar to like cell phones. Like it's a fairly new market, and although cell phones have progressed way further because there's more people that need cell phones. I think you can see progression with these companies because they know that if they don't provide something that's up to standards, they're going to get backlash for it. And
Yeah.
I hope that Ubisoft kind of looks at that at Assassin's Creed Unity and says, okay, our sales were terrible and the reviews were terrible as compared to other games that we pumped out. Maybe we should look at trying to, in the future, make better games and fix the games and all that other stuff. So,
Or just make a working game in the case
Yeah.
of Assassin's Creed Unity. Like, literally just have it run. That's your goal.
that was horrible. I heard stories like even on a PC, like Total Biscuit was talking about he had like two SLI'd, like really good graphics cards, couldn't run it above like 20 frames, Like-
Yes, he is SLI GTX 970s or
Which is-
960s. 960s.
it's like that's huge.
That's massive.
Yeah.
Like, oh man. But yeah, that was just optimization. Like,
Yeah.
if they would have included even a minimal amount of optimization, then like the thing is, the game was so broken that consoles, which are
Yeah.
usually flawless in how fine-tuned they have been to run on that specific set of hardware, that Unity could not run on consoles either.
I know,
They had
Like-
they had frame drops below 30.
that's ridiculous.
It's yeah. So anyway, I mean, just make like one of my career paths that I've considered is actually being my own independent game developer, and that's might still be on the horizon in terms of my future. But like one thing that I hope that I can keep in mind, and that other developers will sort of acknowledge as well, is that if you make a good game, people will buy it. Like word will spread.
Yeah.
Like you're not just make a good game.
Yep. And like, obviously with stuff like indie games, there's not like there's a market for it, but it's not as big as the market that like these big corporate companies are achieving, but it's still a big market and it's a growing market, and you're still going to make what you spent on this and more. Like you're going to be able to make a living off this game. Like you think about Super Meat Boy, like that was an expensive game, and the guys like spent their life savings on it, and they like did all this, and then they sold like crazy. Like
Yes.
people bought this game like crazy, and they made bank off of this. And I think they're still developing, if I'm not mistaken. So I mean, it's if you make a good game, people will find it, even if it doesn't have the greatest graphics, or if it doesn't have the coolest looking premise or whatever. Like if it's fun, people will play it and people will buy it and people will share it.
Yeah,
So.
and I like gaming at this point has evolved to such a point that it's not necessarily about, like you said, graphics or
Yep.
whatever, textures or whatever. It's about having an experience.
Yeah.
And if you take something, I believe the game's name is This War of Mine. Like that game wasn't fun in per se, but it offered a unique experience that not everybody can really, I don't know, partake in their daily lives.
Yeah.
And like if you make a good experience, you sort of craft this project that will, make somebody glad that they bought your game, then
Yeah.
it will be successful.
Like, can I butt in just really quick?
Yeah.
So obviously, movies and video games are not the same, and you still have to like make a mechanic and play it, and have the person play it, and not make just a story. But like, if you think about a movie, not all movies are fun. Like,
Right.
for example, one of my absolute favorite movies is now I'm blanking on the name.
The Shining?
Anyways, no, it's oh man, it's on Netflix. It's really dark. Anyways, point being, it's a really, really dark movie, and it's depressing, and in the end, you're just like, that sucked. But it's so good because it provides you this perspective and this experience that's just like insane. And it's something that you won't ever hopefully you won't ever experience in your life. But it's just interesting, and it's a good, if you present it in a good way, people are going to enjoy it.
Right.
So.
All right. Would you like to call that a show?
Yeah, I think that was pretty good.
Yeah, I think that was a very successful first episode of the Filler Feed podcast. If you guys would be so kind as to leave a rating, and you can also subscribe, and there's all that kind of good stuff. Also, Eric, you don't have like a YouTube channel per se, but
not really.
Would you like people to check out your Twitter, perhaps?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter. It's on the overlay, I believe.
Yep.
It's at Erik, E-R-I-K-W Jacobson. Obviously on there. I tweet jokes that come up in my head and that aren't funny, but you'll find amusing. You'll get one of those quick exhales out of a couple. But
all right.
Yeah.
So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Cool.